Welcome to my travel vlog all about Greece. Guys, I just came back from the most amazing trip through the Greek Isles that I have to share with you. I want to give you all the details about my experience with Virgin Voyage, going to 4 different locations in the Greek Isles, pros and cons and everything you need if you're looking to set up a vacation just like I experienced. So my name is Amanda Nybert, registered dietitian. This content is a little bit different than what I'm used to presenting, but I just finished my dream vacation and I got so many questions that I wanted to answer to help you plan the ultimate trip to Greece. Greece has been on my bucket list. This trip has actually been 2 years in the making. My husband gifted it to me 2 Christmases ago, and life has been crazy, but we finally made it happen. And first and foremost, we did our trip through Virgin Voyage, and I have been dying to try out this cruise line. I love cruising. I've cruised a lot with Royal Caribbean. I've never cruised with Virgin. Was super interested in trying this line, specifically because it's an adult-only cruise. And they bill a elevated food experience, an elevated kind of adult experience, and I wanted to check it out. I was also interested in doing a cruise through the Greek Isles because I wanted to experience a lot of different places, but I didn't want to be on a plane and train and dragging my enormous suitcase from location to location throughout the week. So I thought this was a great way to kind of experience a lot of different areas while I'm able to unpack and keep all my stuff in one place. And guys, I would agree, it was the best experience kind of across the board. So just to give you a little idea of how our travel went, we actually flew from the United States to Athens. We ended up staying about 2 nights in Athens before we boarded the ship. We stayed in the area called the Plaka. We actually worked with a great kind of travel guide in Greece that I'm going to put his contact in the caption below. But he helped set up all of our transportation to and from the airports. He helped set up our lodging in Athens, and then he helped set up a lot of the excursions and activities that we did on the islands throughout the week. He suggested that we stay at the Plaka. A lot of people that are cruising tend to stay near the cruise ships, and he suggested this area because it's just a great place to stay, and then we could walk to cafes. The Acropolis was right there. So kind of everything that we needed as like a tourist was right in that area. It was definitely further away from the cruise ships, but worth the drive the day we got on the cruise ship in order to enjoy our kind of 48 hours in Athens. So we explored the area, we ate delicious Greek food, we hiked Acropolis, and he kind of helped navigate and set all of that up. Then on Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember exactly which day, maybe it was Sunday, we got on the cruise ship and started our sail through the Greek Isles. First and foremost, I have to say Virgin was a amazing experience. It is really everything they build it to be. The food was phenomenal. The entertainment was phenomenal. The service was phenomenal. The staff was phenomenal. Our accommodations, I felt like, were some of the best cruise rooms I've ever been on for the level in which we purchased. So I cannot say enough great things about this opportunity. Again, it is adults only. It is a very diverse crowd of adults, all ages, young adults, old adults. There were a lot of Europeans. There were a lot of, I guess, foreigners in my mind. There were a lot of people from the United States. So again, what I loved about Virgin is it has something for everybody. If you're interested in living that party life and you want to whoop it up and, stay out late and dance and whatever, that's available. If you want to chill and listen to jazz and watch the sunset and, soft music or, whatever, that's available. So we did a little bit of both, trust me. So again, I cannot say enough about Virgin Voyage. It was an amazing experience. So the 4 places that we ported or stopped in on our cruise was our first stop was in Santorini. And Santorini, you cannot go up to, there's no dock, okay? You have to tender over to the actual port. So we arrived early, I think Monday morning. We took a tender over to the port. And you kind of have two options. You can either take the gondola up to the capital of Santorini. I think it's called Fyra. Or you can take a boat to other areas of Santorini. And Nico, our kind of travel advisor for Greece, suggested that we take the boat over to Ia and explore that area because it's a little less crowded. There's a lot of cruise ships going into the capital, a lot of people taking the gondola up. So it tends to be a little bit more crowded in that area. So we purchased a boat ticket. So it's actually a ticket that you get on a boat. They drive you to Ia, and then if you continue with that tour, they pick you up on a bus and they bring you back to the capital, and then you take the gondola down and you get on the cruise ship. But Nico set it up that we were able to go to Ia. We explored. It was gorgeous. The crowds were not bad at all. We sat down, we had lunch, beautiful pictures overlooking, the beautiful sea. And once we were done there, we had a driver that picked us up and took us to the black sand beaches, which are kind of on the back side of the island. And then that afternoon, we had a beachside cabana with, cocktails. We had a kind of a late dinner, early dinner kind of set up before we left. So spent a couple of hours in that area. And then our driver took us from there back to the capital. We took the gondola down, back on the ship. There's Santorini. It was absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorite places to visit. Definitely would love to go back and maybe stay a couple of days in Ia. But beautiful area, beautiful water. Absolutely loved it. So from there, the ship went to Rhodes, Greece. And we were actually able to port in that area. So you could get on and off the boat very easily. No tender involved. We were actually going to go see kind of like a butterfly sanctuary at Rhodes, but we got off the boat a little bit late. Taxi driver said we wouldn't be able to make it. So we just explored the downtown area, and it was gorgeous. There's a big fortress there. Apparently Rhodes has some really good beach clubs as well. So that's another option. So we just walked around a little bit, got some food, came back to the boat, and then kind of had a lazy pool day that afternoon. And then the next day, we arrived in Bodrum, Turkey. So this is a stop outside of Greece, and it was absolutely gorgeous. There were lots of like little beach clubs right off the boat. Again, the boat pulled right up to the port, so there were no tender involved. So we just walked off the boat and went to one of the beach clubs. It's a pebble beach where we kind of stayed. And the nice thing about this beach club is that there was really just like a drink minimum. So you could get a beach lounge right on the water, as long as you spent like $20 towards food and alcohol, which was actually kind of hard to do in Turkey because Turkey is very inexpensive. Like I would love to go back to Bodrum. I'm thinking your dollar goes really far in that area. We actually got to consume a lot of food and drinks for just a small amount of money. So it was really gorgeous. The water's very beautiful there. The people are extremely friendly. So again, we just kind of relaxed, didn't do a lot of sightseeing in that area, and then packed up and went back to the boat. And then the next day was a day at sea. And then the last day was Mykonos. And what I also loved about Virgin that I feel like is a little bit unique, I'm not sure if other cruise ships do this, they may, I don't know. I know I've never experienced this when I cruised with Royal Caribbean, but we actually stayed the night in Mykonos. So I think when people talk about like what's the advantages and disadvantages of cruising through the Isles versus, ferrying or grabbing a plane through different locations, I would say the biggest con is the fact that you don't necessarily get to spend a lot of, or get to see a lot of the nightlife in these areas. But in Mykonos we did. So we were actually able to see a lot of the nightlife in Athens, and that was fun. the cafes lit up at night and the city lit up at night. Athens is a concrete jungle, and it is really hot in July. But Santorini, Bodrum, Rhodes, Mykonos, I feel like the temperature was 15 degrees lower. The wind was beautiful. I did not have any issues with the heat in the Isles, just in Athens. But Mykonos, we were able to experience the nightlife. Like, you could stay out all night long if you wanted. Mykonos, there is no port that the boat can go up to. So you are tendering back and forth, which I thought would be kind of like a pain in the butt, but it was actually a very seamless process. The tenders are literally coming and going. I feel like every 5 to 10 minutes. They went all through the night. So I know, not us, but a lot of people went out and partied late into the night to kind of get that Mykonos, nightlife experience, and then could jump on the boat at any time. So we arrived in Mykonos, and we stayed through the entire night, through the next day. I think you had to be back on the boat by 1 p.m. So when we got to Mykonos, we jumped off the ship, and again, I had done a little research, because obviously Mykonos is like the beach club island. That's where everyone's partying and everything. And I did a little research, just Googled, best beach clubs in Mykonos. And I found a travel blog that kind of broke down all the different beach clubs. And so we ended up going to Paraga, Paraga, because it was billed as kind of like a good in-between. It wasn't super sleepy, but it wasn't super crazy. So we wanted to see a little bit of the action, but we didn't, I don't know, we didn't want to be in all the action. So it was also billed as one of the prettiest waters, the prettiest beaches, and I can concur. It was perfection. There's actually 4 or 5 different beach clubs that we walked up to. I will say, we didn't make reservations, and I tried to make reservations at one of the beach clubs before, like the day before, and they were booked. So I was a little nervous when we got there that we wouldn't be able to get a cabana on the beach, but it actually worked out that we were able to get one. However, probably going back, I'd probably make a reservation just to make sure, because it would have sucked to kind of get there and then it'd be full, because it is a little bit of a smaller beach. The real popular kind of party beach is, I think, Paradise Beach, and then Paradise 2. And I think those are much bigger beaches. But we got a cabana. I think it was about $100 a person, but $50 went towards your food and beverage. So I didn't think it was that bad. It was absolutely gorgeous. The water was breathtaking. It was, a super kind of fun club vibe in the back. And then on the beach, you could just kind of hear, the party going on. And we absolutely loved it. We stayed all day long. The food was great. The drinks were great. Such a fun time. And we literally just got off the boat, found a taxi stand, took a taxi to Paraga. They gave us a card, information: when you're ready to be picked up, meet us here, call us. Again, a little sketched out about that, but it all worked out. They picked us up, took us back to what they call like Old Town of Mykonos, and dropped us off. And we just wandered and found a restaurant, and ended up at having one of the best meals of the entire week on the island of Mykonos, and watched the sunset, and kind of took our time. And then as the evening went along, we were just like in our bathing suits and, regular clothes, nothing fancy. And then we went back to the ship. So we kind of, did like a day trip. We went back to the ship. It was so funny because as we were going back, I'd say like around 10 or 11 p.m., Lordy, the party people were coming out. They were ready to get it on. And so we went back to the ship, ended up, just hanging out at the boat. And then waking up the next day, and we went back into the city, into Old Town, and we had some breakfast, and we walked around and took some pictures and did some shopping in the morning. So I did love that aspect, that we were able to kind of explore Mykonos in the evening and in the early morning. And then after that, we hit the road and went back to Athens. So great experience. A lot of people asking about the pros and cons of cruising versus kind of doing it on your own. And again, I think the pros are the fact that I unpacked my suitcase once. I didn't have to worry about it. The islands in Greece are relatively small. There's not a ton to do. So I feel like your ability to explore each island in 12 hours is pretty legitimate. It also helped me to kind of see a couple of different places. So now if I wanted to go back, which I do, I'd want to go back. I'm not opposed to sailing again. Again, I thought it was a great trip. But maybe I would spend a couple of days in Mykonos, get my party on, experience that, and then spend a couple of days in Ia, which is super quiet, chill, laid back. I know there's a lot of other islands in Greece that are kind of less touristy, less populated, that people really recommend. So I'd probably like to go back and maybe experience those. So it's like I got to experience like the big ones that people talk about. So maybe the next time I go to Greece, I might experience some of the smaller islands and stay a couple of days and kind of island hop. So again, I think that that's a big plus with cruising, is just the convenience of them getting you to where you need to be, and you kind of being available to do what you want to do. Again, cons, I think just the biggest con is just, your inability to experience kind of like the nightlife fully in every area. But the pros definitely outweigh the cons for sure. I would definitely, I'm definitely booking another Virgin Voyage. I know they've got a couple of European options out there. So we'll definitely be exploring with them again. Other questions that I got were, did I use a travel agent? And I didn't use a travel agent to book my airfare, to book the cruise, but we did use this kind of Greece contact to help book some of our excursions, some of our travel, some of our hotels. And he was amazing to work with. He's very fluent in the area. And everything just happened, like people just showed up and picked us up, took us where we needed to be. And that was very helpful. We also splurged on our travel getting to Greece. Greece is very far away. It takes about 8 to 10 hours, depending on where you're flying from. So we had kind of a basic room, which I will share in a couple of other videos. And on the cruise ship, it was all we needed, trust me. But we definitely splurged on our flights with extra points, like credit card points, and probably a little bit more money for business class to kind of get those lay down seats. So it was comfortable because, again, travel to and from Greece was intense for sure. What else? It was hot. It was very hot in Athens. Athens, again, is a concrete jungle, but every place else we were at, it was very pleasant. I never felt like I was just sweating profusely. There was always such a breeze. The weather was spectacular. It never rains in Greece. Wind is kind of the big issue. I know a couple of weeks before our cruise, there were some issues in Mykonos, and the wind prevented them from getting on the island one day. But yeah, it was a great experience. I absolutely loved it. I'm going to post just a breakdown of every day in which we did. So if you're interested in kind of seeing the nitty gritty of what we ate, what we did at each stop, everything that was available, those kind of daily vlogs will be beneficial. But yeah, I highly recommend Greece. I highly recommend doing it through Virgin. And this is not sponsored content. I probably should have said that at the very beginning. Virgin did not pay me a penny. I would love to be your ambassador. I would love to show everybody. You can pay me to go on my next trip. But authentically, we just had such a great time, and you're going to love it. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and stick around for more content about health and wellness, and maybe a little bit about travel.